This is Will Spencer from the Renaissance of Men with the new 21 report and Jack Donovan. How you doing, Jack?
All right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How are you enjoying, what number 21 convention is this for you?
I actually don't know. I'm not great at math. And so I've been here a lot of times.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
How have you enjoyed this version compared to the other lot of times you have been here?
I mean, it's different every time. I mean, I remember it was a very different vibe a few years ago, but we've also done it in Poland. So we've done it in a foreign country. We've done it here. Last year I just came for fun, just to hang out. And this time, obviously, and every time I'm doing a different kinds of presentation. So the focus is a little bit different. And I'm a different guy every time. Like a step in the water, the water's different. You're different every time, and so it's a little bit like that. But it's always a good conference, and I've been here so many times that a lot of these guys are my friends. Yeah. And so that's always fun.
What have you noticed has been different about this year's convention versus previous years?
Well, we were just talking about this in the hall actually, and it was that there was no drama. Oh wow. There was no drama. There was nobody who was. We were just talking about it, like the most anxious member of the group. There wasn't anyone circled around this. This is a problem happening over here. There was no problems. Everybody was just really, we're really working together, and really enjoying each other's company. And there was nothing really like, oh, this drama is happening over here, or any kind of thing like that. So that's always nice. When everybody's focused in the same direction.
Did you have any interaction with the women or the speakers from 22 convention?
I did not. No, not at all.
Any thoughts on the 22 convention in general?
No, I mean, it's an interesting thing that Anthony's doing, and I'm glad that women showed up and that they're having a good experience. And obviously, I've not heard really anything bad coming out of that, and so that's pretty positive. Cool.
And you spoke at the 21 convention. I believe it was yesterday. What was your talk about?
I was talking about my book, Fire in the Dark. And presenting, I almost thought of it as doing a college class on Fire in the Dark. Fire in the Dark 101, day one, talking about a broad overview by Professor Jack Donovan of all, because it's as you know. I mean, I know you've read the book, and it's a fairly dense material. So I get to talk a lot about a lot of. Go into etymology of words, go into like all kinds of different gods, because it's a book that really has a lot of comparative mythology in it. And so if you're not familiar with all the content, there would be a lot of content. Like, what is this Celtic god, and what is this Mesopotamian what, and Egyptian gods and so forth. So it was, there's a lot of content there, and to try and make it simple enough so that people here and on YouTube and whatever can understand it, was a challenge. But I wanted to give the best explanation, because I don't actually get to teach college classes, so this is the best that I get. So I wanted to give it a try.
Simple enough for people on YouTube to get it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Well, but not TikTok.
Fire in the Dark in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So, how was the process of writing this book different from your previous processes, from Way of Men, Becoming a Barbarian, and More Complete Beast? How did Fire in the Dark differ in the way that you prepared to write this book, or the writing of the book itself?
Well, as I was writing it throughout the process, one of the things was, like about halfway through, I'm like, wow, I could really use a PhD in comparative religion right about now, just because there's so much material and going through it and trying to make sure that I'm getting everything right. And making sense of everything. I'm speaking in other languages and then making everything make sense. So every book, I don't know who said it, but someone said that a man writing a book is the closest that you can get to childbirth, and it is every time. I hate it, and it's a long, arduous process because you're really challenging yourself intellectually. You're starting at one place and moving to another place. And because you have to leave yourself open to discover things along the way. So I started to, write a book about Odin, Thor, and Frey in this Germanic way, and then it became a really interesting project of looking at all the masculine archetypes and all the gods, and from all the different religions that I could have access to. I didn't go into Asian gods and so forth because I just don't know enough about them. Sure. But all the Indo-European pantheons. And kind of almost putting them in a like columns, like this one's associated with this, and this one's associated with this, and this one's associated with that, and then putting them all together, and what are the common themes and what makes sense, not just for their particular religions, but for what's a common theme that makes sense for all men. And I really think I got a lot of things right in this book, and I'm pretty excited about it. And the more, even while I was making this presentation for 21, I spent a lot of time on the actual presentation, and then new things are like presenting myself to me that correspond with it. Like obviously it's called Fire in the Dark, and making my presentation, it had a lot of triangles in the actual like composition of the keynote speech. And then I'm like, wait, isn't that an alchemical symbol? And it's actually the alchemical symbol of fire. And so it was just, everything was lining up over and over again. So it's a great system, I think, in terms of like looking at mythology. Has writing this book changed your view of, say, spirituality, mythology, or even your own life? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It changed my entire frame. Change sounds like flip-floppy. A little bit right. Change sounds like, oh, well, I was this and now I'm that, or I was this and now I'm that. But it's more like an evolution. I feel like so many things that I've been writing over the years, especially, I've been writing about men and masculinity for probably about 15 years, but really, as far as anyone knows, probably about 10. And when I was writing this book, I really feel like I've been talking about the same things over and over and over again in a more refined and perfected way. One of the things I went to with Fire in the Dark is I started out with, in the Way of Men, the concept of the perimeter. And really Fire in the Dark draws on that, and I feel like it's the best complement to the Way of Men, in the sense of it takes the idea of the perimeter and creating a space that is safe and ordered, and how do you sustain that space, and then building that out into a concept of like, well, what is sacred and what is important to men, and what ideals do they need to do that job of maintaining that space for as long as possible. So it brings it full circle for me. So I started out with one idea, and now I have the same idea, only in a deeper sense. So talk a little bit about solar idealism. Solar idealism. I started out a few years ago, and I started to, from things I was doing before, I was looking for something what's more light, what's more positive, rather than, because there's so many guys in the world who are just angry. And they're angry about what's wrong in the world, and I get that, and I understand all their complaints. I've heard all their complaints, and I probably have half of them, or maybe 3/4, or maybe 80%. And so we share the same complaints, but the complaints aren't enough. You need a positive ideal to move to. And I was thinking about what does that mean, and rather than being angry, this kind of dark mentality, what does it mean to move more toward light, and what is positive? And the best symbol for that is really the sun. It has a gravitational pull that brings order, and the concept of order became very important to me because of that. And I just started moving toward saying this slogan, "Stay solar." And it became really, it kind of took off in its own way, because it's what people needed to hear. I have a good antenna for that. That's kind of one of my superpowers, is I feel like I feel things a little bit before people feel them, and put them out there, sometimes at the right time, but usually just too early. And so, and that's a curse, but they picked it up, and a lot of people started saying "Stay solar," and I'm like, oh, I like that, because the idea, especially with all the bad things happening in the world, and this was even before the new bad things, the new normals happened, but there are so many things to be angry about, and what do the best men really do? The men that you really look up to, they're not just angry all the time and kicking rocks and like being combative about everything. They're trying to create something, and they're trying to pull things into order around them, like the sun does. And any men, and we can see it with so many men at this conference, the men who are truly magnetic, they have a gravitational pull, and they'll walk with like 5 or 6 men walking around them all the time, because they have so much to offer, and so much like light to offer, that people surround them naturally, and they create an order wherever they go. And so that's what that idea of stay solar kind of meant to me. Like, hey, be solar, and as the world kicks you down, as things become dark, and as problems arise, to stay solar. And solar idealism really became philosophy. I gave a speech at the last 21 that I spoke at. It was called Manly Idealism. And Anthony likes it. I have a kind of a habit of sketching out new books in speeches at the 21 convention. This is the first time I presented a book that I'd already written. But I sketched it out in the last speech that I gave. I gave a speech called Manly Idealism. It was basically talking about how men need heroes and men need ideals. And a lot of the problems that we have in the world right now are that we're seeing ideals torn down. We're saying that there can't be the best of anything. Everything's the same. And you can't have best and worst. You can't have first and last. You can't have, everyone gets the same medal. Everyone gets a participation trophy. And, no one wants to say what is good and what is bad. With fitness even, it's okay to be, fat is the same as being healthy. And all these things are being leveled. And I think men naturally like hierarchy. They want something to be above and something to be, so they have a direction to shoot for. It doesn't matter. It's misunderstood, I think, by a lot of people, is that the idea of hierarchy, if someone's above you, then that's supposed to be naturally hurtful to you, and you're never supposed to try to get higher or get better because you'll never be where they are. And that's not how most men think of that. And that's a really actually kind of sick way to think of the world. I mean, when I see the best athlete at something, that doesn't mean that I should never become more athletic unless I can become the gold medal winner at the Olympics or, a professional athlete in some way. And that's just a terrible way to think about life and about yourself.
Yeah, I find that there's a lot of talk in this community about, alpha, beta, discharging the negative charge from the terms, just in terms of hierarchy, is like, not everyone can be an alpha, a leader in that way. Some men just want to belong. They're not followers, they want to belong. And sometimes it can seem in the same way, like hierarchy is painted as bad because someone's over someone else. Well, there are some men that just want to participate in something and don't necessarily want to lead in that way. And I don't know if you have any thoughts about that from being here at the convention.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about directly related to the convention, but obviously, I mean, people are coming to see the speakers, and they're not all trying to be speakers.
Yeah,
that's because we have different talents. Men are differently gifted, and we can do. Everybody has their own role to play and their own thing that they can bring to the table. And I don't expect these guys to go out and become authors or speakers, but what can they do that we really need? Because there's so many things that need to be done. I mean, whether it's in the tech realm of creating different technologies or different facilitating the platforms that we all need. There is a problem with platforms, obviously, and there are so many people that are needed to do that work, and not everyone has to be the talking head. Being a talking head is its own weird job. And that's not for everyone, but everyone can help in their own way. And so, like the alpha and beta thing, I always have a problem with it because it's like, it's just a position in a hierarchy, right? It changes wherever you go, and not everyone's always the alpha, or very few guys are. So it's not really about that pecking order so much. I mean, men are aware of that, but I think, a really good leader values all the people that do all the other roles that are involved in everything that they do. A good leader appreciates all that. And, we're at a group of many leaders here at the 21 convention. I mean, obviously we have guys with their entire own audiences and their own specialties and so forth. And they all have guys who support them in some way or other. And it's because the guys believe in their message and believe in what they're doing. And sometimes those guys are way more financially successful in some other realm of life. They've accomplished a great deal. Maybe they're far more educated in some realm, and they can maybe they just have something else way better going for them, but they're helping this guy do this thing because they believe in it. And so, like, again, that alpha beta thing, like, is very, it changes so much. Like, that guy could leave here, go be the foreman of his construction site, and here he's just here to help, but he's in charge in another way. So,
have you gotten the chance to check out any speakers this year?
Yeah. I mean, I sat in. I always hide my room until I get my speech done, and that's just a thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, I went to see Tanner because he's one of my best friends.
Sure.
And then I stayed out too late, and I didn't go to see yours.
Don't worry, I didn't notice.
I do apologize for that one. The next morning, I was like, "Oh man, I wanted to see that."
It's okay. I didn't wish you happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh well, thank you. You were just withholding the birthday.
Exactly.
But
now that you apologize, I can wish you happy birthday.
Okay, all right.
Exactly.
Now that we're even. Are we even playing field now? Okay, cool. But and then obviously I wanted to make sure that I saw Ian Smith, because Ian and I have met before and we correspond a lot. And I have a great respect for him and what he's doing and everything. And it's, we're in a point in life where we need men to stand up and do heroic things. And we can say that, and I'm good at giving motivational speeches, and I can say that. But people also need to do that.
Yeah.
And Ian's one of those guys who is doing that. And so to listen to him speak is to him telling the story of this, mythic struggle that he's engaged in. And there are a lot of other guys who are engaged in these mythic struggles in the same way. And in a way that's exciting. We have very big monsters out there, and we have guys who are actually like doing the work to slay them. So like, that's exciting to me personally. And it was great to have him here and get to talk to him for a few minutes and get to see him present. And it's great to have someone like that connected to the 21 convention. Which some obviously the criticism of these kinds of things is like they're just for pickup artists or whatever, which hasn't been the case at all this year. Almost nothing had to do with that at all. It's more about men improving themselves, and that's why I've always liked the 21 convention. But to have guys come to the table like that who are actually taking action in the real world, and it not just being all about ideas and talk and whatever, and bringing that back, because who knows what that could inspire in the future.
We're coming up on 10 years of The Way of Men, which I think is the foundational book of what we'll just broadly call the men's movement of the Renaissance, or whatever you want to call it. That's pretty significant. I mean, I've thought a lot about it. I think I used to say like Iron John, Way of Men were the two. I was like, I kind of put Iron John aside because I think the Way of Men has had more enduring relevance to what's actually happening now, and obviously it's touched so many different corners of society. What does it feel to look back on 10 years of, magnum opus? I don't know if that's the correct word for it, but it's on something that's so significant in so many men's lives.
Well, it's Iron John came out maybe 10 years before The Way of Men, so who knows what the next thing will be. But
20 years actually.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But so that one's been around and had an enduring influence as well. But as far as The Way of Men, it's just been an interesting ride. I mean, I'm putting out a 10th anniversary edition of The Way of Men in hardcover. And I was writing an afterword for it, and what do I say about that? After rereading it, I really like it. I really still think I said the right things, and they're still right.
Yeah.
And really, if anything, they're like weirdly even more relevant today than they were then. And it's been an honor that it's been so influential in so many people, and so many people quote it, and so many people talk about it and use it as a foundation, as a jumping off point for other things. That's been amazing. That when I read it, and I look at some of the spicier parts towards the end, which are not wrong, and I think that's why I had to really think about that. And I think it connected with men specifically because I was going through the same things they were.
Yeah.
I mean, because when I wrote The Way of Men, I was a delivery driver being paid $12.50 an hour. So I was doing all the drug tests, stand in line, do the thing. that regular blue collar men were having to go through, and let's listen to your 10th diversity lecture and watch the video and sign off that you saw the video from HR about this and that and the other thing. And that's things that, guys we've been, whatever, writing books or influencing or doing whatever it is that we do for a long time, and they get a little bit disconnected to that, like a country singer who flies in private jets.
Right.
We don't want to get that, but I think that book connected with people because I was exactly going through the same stuff that they were, and it's important to realize. And I see this especially when I deal with a lot of guys who are maybe like, I never know what to call them, but the operator kind of guys.
Sure.
They've been in such a male influenced environment for their entire lives, and a lot of them haven't had to go through like 10,000 HR lectures and all these things, and go through colleges that are teaching them to hate themselves and all these problems that men have to deal with every day. And it's important to not lose sight of how much that sucks. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine like how much worse it is really right now, because I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I was complaining about whatever was going on in 2010. Whatever these guys are going through now is so much worse. Yeah. And so I think that's why, like, my anger at that time, and with the system with it, you just want to flip the table and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That really connected with people. And so I can see why it's still important and why people still like it. And they're like, yes, this is exactly how we feel about this. And, it's an honor to be able to have written something like that. And, it's sometimes I feel like, something spoke through me that I was able to do that, but it was very, so it's been very powerful. Looking back on that, and just very, like I said, I just generally very honored that I got to do that, and that I'm still regarded in that way, and it's still respected. So,
what's it been like talking about Chest Magazine here at 21?
Cool. I haven't done it as much as I should have, but obviously, Chest is a project that we're working on to kind of put something out there that's an alternative to the men's magazines today that are really not written for men.
Right.
But also there's so much else going on in the world that I really felt like it was important to make humanizing profiles of men who I believe are honestly doing good things. Mm-hmm. And obviously we did a feature on Anthony, we did a feature on Ian Smith, and we have a lot more of those lined up. Like men who are actually taking action and doing something to change this environment. So it's really important, I think, to humanize those guys, because as we know, they'll be attacked by everybody else. But if obviously, if you get to know them, they're just guys and they're humans and they're flawed, and they're trying to do something good. Mm-hmm. And so many people were just hiding and not doing anything and just complaining. Like the jerks on the couch that are just sitting there, like whatever, grumbling about whatever. And it's these guys are actually stepping up and taking action and doing something. Mm-hmm. And if we can show that, they are regular guys, and not even regular guys. What does that even mean?
Right.
But they are human beings, and that they that maybe some things were scary for them to do, but they did it anyway. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, really important to get their stories out there, and so that people can connect with them, mm-hmm. and not just see them as like enemy talking heads or like whatever, mm-hmm. and really see that they're decent men.
To your regular guy point, mm-hmm. I think for people looking in at the 21 convention without a whole lot of context, who've never been here before, you see a convention full of high-profile speakers, who have well-developed, established brands, and you could have this feeling like, oh, do all those guys keep to themselves in some private room behind a velvet rope or something like that? Mm-hmm. And you come to a place like this, and here's Jack Donovan walking around, sitting down at the pool, having drinks with just the guys. You're one of those regular guys. You're not some elitist, larger-than-life figure. You're human scale, and that's really important for men to know that, like you're saying, like you're doing for these other men. Like, no, we're all just men trying to figure this thing out, and there's no like two-tier society here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everybody gets to get a little bit of time with all of us, and it is good to meet everybody. And I've been lucky, especially with my readership, I've always said when I go to a foreign city or whatever, a city somewhere in America, if some guy reaches out and wants to meet me, there's a 90% chance that he doesn't suck. Like yeah. Usually it's almost always been a good experience. I've had dinner with guys, just whatever, and you can't always do that, but generally, I think the men who appreciate my work have been the kind of guys I would want to hang out with.
So where can men go to find out more about you and your work?
Well, right now, for as long as that lasts, I'm on Instagram at Start the World. And my website is jack-donovan.com. And at both of those points right now, you can sign up for my mailing list in case those go away at some point. But so that's my main things. And obviously my books can be found anywhere on Amazon and Audible and so forth.
Cool. Thanks, Jack.
All right. Thank you.
This is Will Spencer for the Renaissance of Men, here with the new 21 Report and Jack Donovan. Thanks so much for watching.